In the last video, we discussed the exciting concept of creating a custom data set. And we wrote down a few things that we want to get. We discussed some pros and cons, and we learned that many custom datasets inherit from torch.utils.data.dataset. So that's what we'll be doing later on. In this video, let's focus on writing a helper function to recreate this functionality. So I'm going to title this 5.1, creating a helper function to get class names. I'm going to turn this into Markdown. And if I go into here, so we want a function to, let's write down some steps and then we'll code it out. So we'll get the class names. We're going to use os.scandir. So it's going to scan a directory to traverse a target directory. And ideally, the directory is in standard image classification format. So just like the image folder class, our custom data class is going to require our data already be formatted in the standard image classification format, such as train and test for training and test images, and then images for a particular class are in a particular directory. So let's keep going. And number 2, what else do we want it to do? We want it to raise an error if the class names aren't found. So if this happens, there might be, we want this to hint at the fact that there might be something wrong with the directory structure. And number 3, we also want to turn the class names into a dict and a list and return them. Beautiful. So let's get started. Let's set up the path directory for the target directory. So our target directory is going to be what? The directory we want to load, directory, if I could spell, we want to load our data from. Let's start with the training dir, just for an example. So target directory, what do we get? So we're just going to use the training folder as an example to begin with. And we'll go print target dir, we'll put in the target directory. Just want to exemplify what we're doing. And then we're going to get the class names from the target directory. So I'll show you the functionality of os.scandir. Of course, you could look this up in the Python documentation. So class names found, let's set this to be sorted, and then we'll get the entry name, entry.name for entry in list. So we're going to get os list scandir of the image path / target directory. Let's see what happens when we do this. Target directory, have we got the right brackets here? Is this going to work? Let's find out. Oh, image path / target directory. What did we get wrong? Oh, we don't need the image path there. Let's just put target directory there. There we go. Beautiful. So we set up our target directory as being the training dir. And so if we just go, let's just do list. What happens if we just run this function here? os.scandir. Yeah, so there we go. So we have 3 directory entries. So this is where we're getting entry.name for everything in the training directory. So if we look in the training directory, what do we have? Train. And we have 1 entry for pizza, 1 entry for sushi, 1 entry for steak. Wonderful. So now we have a way to get a list of class names. And we could quite easily turn this into a dictionary, couldn't we? Which is exactly what we want to do. We want to recreate this, which we've done, and we want to recreate this, which is also done. So now let's take this functionality here, and let's turn that into a function. All right, what can we do? What do we call this? I'm going to call this define classes, and I'm going to say that it takes in a directory which is a string, and it's going to return, this is where I imported typing from Python typing. I imported tuple, and I'm going to return a list, which is a list of strings, and a dictionary, which is strings mapped to integers. Beautiful. So let's keep going. We want to we want this function to return, given a target directory, we want it to return these two things. So we've seen how we can get a list of the directories in a target directory by using OS_scan_dir. So let's write finds the classes, the class folder names in a target directory. Beautiful. And we know that it's going to return a list and a dictionary. So let's do step number 1. We want to get the class names by scanning the target directory. We'll go classes. We're going to replicate the functionality we've done above, but for any given directory here. So classes equals sorted entry.name for entry in OS_scan_dir, and we're going to pass it the target directory if entry.isdir. We're just going to make sure it's a directory as well. And so if we just return classes and see what happens, so find classes, let's pass it in our target directory, which is our training directory. What do we get? Beautiful. So we need to also return class to IDX. So let's keep going. So number 2 is let's go raise an error if class names could not be found. So if not classes, let's say raise file, we're going to raise a file not found error. And then let's just write in here F couldn't find any classes in directory. So we're just writing some error checking code here. So if we can't find a class list within our target directory, we're going to raise this error and say couldn't find any classes in directory. Please check file structure. And there's another check up here that's going to help us as well to check if the entry is a directory. So finally, let's do number 3. What do we want to do? So we want to create a dictionary of index labels. So computers, why do we do this? Well, computers prefer numbers rather than strings as labels. So we can do this. We've already got a list of classes. So let's just create class to IDX equals class name I for I class name in enumerate classes. Let's see what this looks like, hey? So we'll go class names and then class to IDX, or we can just return it actually. Do we spell enumerate wrong? Yes, we did. So what this is going to do is going to map a class name to an integer, or to I, for I class name in enumerate classes. So it's going to go through this and it's going to go for I. So the first one, 0, is going to be pizza, ideally. 1 will be steak, 2 will be sushi. Let's see how this goes. Beautiful, look at that. We've just replicated the functionality of image folder. So now we can use this helper function in our own custom dataset, find classes, to traverse through a target directory such as train. We could do the same for test if we wanted to too. And that way, we've got a list of classes, and we've also got a dictionary mapping those classes to integers. So now, let's in the next video move towards subclassing torchutils.data.dataset, and we're going to fully replicate image folder. So I'll see you there.